Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Alina from Creative Field Designs, and in today's video I'll be teaching you how to paint these lovely watercolor leaves. I'll be showing you 4 different techniques and I hope you find them helpful. Let's get started. I'm just going to guide you through all the supplies. So for this video I'll be using Van Gogh watercolor palette. Mine's very messy. I don't really want to wash it out because I'll lose quite a lot of paint, so I always just let it dry and then dilute with water again. And I'll be using these brushes today. So these are my 4 favorites at the moment. I love this Princeton series. So this one's a Neptune brush and it's in size 16, which is huge. So this is good for like bigger leaves. I'll be showing you in this video. So this is not something I'll use for detail, obviously. I love this Princeton brush as well. So this is size 12 and it's from different series, but I do love it. I love that it has like a really pointy tip. It really helps, especially when you need to paint the stem and then you want to make like a chunky leaf. It's really helpful. Then I've got some of my all-time favorites. So this one's Pro Art Master Stroke brush. I love this one. It's quite thin. I would say it's quite a small brush. So again, it's good for stems, for detail, and just sort of in general, you can paint anything with this, I feel. And this one, it actually came with this palette. I do like it. It's very small. It can be a bit flimsy to hold. But I do like how pointy it is, and it's very, very thin right at the tip, which is super helpful, again, for those stem details. So make sure you have a pot of fresh water. And with regards to paper, so I'll be using 100% cotton paper today. I love using this, it's good quality. It doesn't make the water puddle on your page, which happens sometimes with like cheaper watercolor papers. But again, feel free to use any watercolor paper for this tutorial. Alright, so what I usually do before I start, I would prepare my palette roughly. I won't prepare all the colors. Sometimes I love to experiment and mix them along the way. But I do want to have some base green here. So the one I have here is green mixed with blue. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of this green and transfer it into here. And it's a very like bright green. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that for the purpose of like some softer looking leaves. While this one here is very, very bright green as well, but like in a different way. It's more like juicy green, if that makes sense. So in this case, what I usually like to do, I like to add a bit of red. And what it does, it mutes your color straight away. It just becomes much more muted, a bit more earthy looking, which is what I love. If you add too much, it'll just become a bit too brownish, so be careful. So I'll do this one and then I'll just check this one here and I'll just add a bit of blue. So what I usually do, I either add a bit of red to my regular green or a little bit of blue. So it either creates like that eucalyptus kind of look when I add blue, and it just makes it very earthy when I add red. Alright. So that's all I'm going to do for now. And if I mix any other colours, I'll make sure to share. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to show you how to paint a very simple, very classic leaf. And I'm going to start with this like medium-sized brush, I would say. And let's just practice the pressure. So I'll begin by painting a long stem, slightly curved. And when I come to the end, I'm going to flatten my brush apply a lot of pressure and then release the pressure right towards the end. And I'm going to go back in here again where it starts getting thick, and I'm going to paint the other half of the leaf and just connect it right here to the top, which is very pointy. And then I'm just going to continue doing this, imagining that the leaves are growing out of the stem. Doing one half and the other one, and then just correcting that detail at the top with the tip of my brush. I'm going to try and vary the color a little bit. So I feel like in nature you can rarely find two identical leaves. That's, you know, almost impossible. So I just want to keep that natural look. And just connecting. Sometimes it's nice to leave a little highlight in the middle. So if this happens, don't worry, you don't have to correct it. Just adds a lot of character, I find. So keep doing this. It might be a bit difficult at first, but I do find that having a good brush really, really helps. Some of the leaves can be pointing down, so once you do your stem, you can just position your brush in the downward direction. Like this. And again, just use a tip if you need to change the shape a little bit. And just let it flow as much as you can. Play with pressure, going from thin into thick. And correct your stem a little bit. It's always nice to make it darker so it stands out. Make sure to keep it nice and thin. Make some of the leaves very small. It's quite nice to vary the size quite a lot. It always adds a lot of detail. It looks very good. I'll do another one here, just peeking out. Maybe finish off with some smaller ones at the bottom. I find that also looks quite nice. You can use a smaller brush for the little ones if that's easier for you. Okay, so that's like a classic branch you can try. I'll show you another way. I'll keep using this brush for now. So I'll just make sure that I add a little bit more of the actual green into my palette, as I do want this next one to be a bit brighter. So I'm just adding some of this green into here. Mixing it up, making sure I have enough water. My paints are nicely diluted. Okay, so I'm going to start with the stem again. So that's very common. I would usually start painting the stem first. And this one, I'm just going to keep my leaves round. So I will do the outline first, and then just color it in gently. Just a rough outline, and then you can use the pressure to color in, and you can always blend maybe a different shade of green into here. this type of leaf is a lot of fun. You can experiment with colour. You can add maybe a bit of blue to your green and just blend some of that in. The variety of colour in your paintings just really makes it look professional, and it just means that you do know a bit of colour theory. It's always nice to mute your paints down a little bit, or adding like a warmer or colder tone to it, using red or blue for example, or yellow. Just keep going, making some of them smaller. You can add a bit more water, maybe making one of them very diluted. That will look quite nice as well. And for the rest of them, I'm going to swap to my Pro Art brush because it's a bit smaller and I just want to add smaller leaves here at the bottom. I'll just make it easier for me. And they don't have to be perfectly round as well, just remember, it doesn't have to be perfect, and I find that it always looks better when it dries, so that's something to remember. Okay, I think I'll leave it here for this one. So once it dries, you'll start to see the blending of colours a little bit more, like here for example. It looks a bit more interesting. Okay, so the next one I'll do is going to be a very fun technique which I love using. So I'm just adding a bit of blue to my green, just a tiny bit, just to make it a bit more different. I'm going to use this little brush now. So we're going to start by painting a stem first, and this is a lot of fun. So all we're going to do, we're just going to dab our brush, so just make sure that it's quite watery. So mine wasn't here, so I'm just dabbing it, just creating shape, and again it just needs to be very watery. I'm going to do this side first. It's like I'm just sort of stamping it, and it just creates this very soft, diluted look. For this to work, your brush needs to be very watery. And again, you can use the tip to correct any imperfections. It's more like a distressed look, I would say. I do love this effect a lot. Give it a go. And sometimes I find that your stem needs to be a bit longer, just to sort of proportionally balance it all out. And for this last one, I thought it would be quite nice to paint some of the eucalyptus leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and use this big brush for the leaves, and I'm going to start with the leaves first this time. So I'm just adding a bit of water to one of my green paints here, and then I'm just going to make sure that I add a lot of blue. So eucalyptus is usually quite like bluish green, almost grey sometimes, so I want it to be very muted, very cold looking colour. Usually a lot of blue with your green does the trick, so give it a go. Just take some time mixing the colour you like. You can always try it out as well. And again, I'm just going to make sure it's quite watery. Okay, so I'm going to start by just painting the leaves, and I do want them to be, see, this is a bit too dry, so I'm just adding more water. I do want them to be very sort of like round, so I'll try to aim for the first half first and then do the second half, and then just keep going, keep painting these like big blobs. You can see how the colour is a bit different from these, so it's much more blue looking. So I'm trying to imagine that I have a stem here, which I'm going to paint in a minute. This brush is so big that it doesn't take long to paint these sort of shapes at all. You can also aim for like a little heart shape at the bottom. Okay, so I'll add a stem and I'll just see if I need to paint some more leaves perhaps. You can use a smaller brush to correct the shape. I'm just using this one here. Going to add a couple more leaves. It's like I'm doing the big blob first and then I'm just making the shape out of it really with the smaller brush. So that's something you can try. These are my 4 favourite botanical elements to paint at the moment. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Give this a go. Let me know how you get on. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, give it a like, just so I know to make more videos like this. Thank you so much, guys.